On today's episode of Watch Jericho, I was tricked into buying the worst Mini Cooper S in the history of Mini Cooper S's. What is going on, guys? I am Watch Jericho, and today, like I said, we are here with the new to me 2012 Mini Cooper S, one of the BMW Minis, and it's a late model one, so it's turbocharged. These things are really fun to drive. They're honestly pretty loaded for what they are. It's really never let me down. If you've driven one of these Minis, you know how much of a blast they are. You know that they're heroes out on the autocross, race tracks, out in the cones. People love to have them out there. So maneuverable, so fun, and they just kind of do everything right. So I went out to buy this one because it was the highest possible tier of Mini Cooper, a John Cooper Works. And I was like, oh man, it's got the other tune on it. We can fix this thing. All right, it seems like it might be a little too much to fix. But obviously, if you have a Mini, you want a John Cooper Works. They get a bunch of special trim. They're fast, they're fun, and it kind of differentiates it. I think they get those side skirts and stuff like that. I think they get a bunch of cool stuff that the S's by themselves don't get, because you have the base, then you get the S that adds the supercharger or the turbo, and then you get the John Cooper Works, which is of course the best version of whatever existed at the time. Early ones had superchargers, later ones had turbochargers. This one has a turbocharger, and it's very clearly been wrecked. And that's not the worst part of this story. I went to pick it up, and we had the VIN, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna send the VIN off to my buddy so I can get a Carfax real quick, just to make sure. It'll say like 2012 BMW Mini Cooper in the Carfax, and then it'll say John Cooper Works. Like, these are special, and it's part of the identifier in the VIN. So it's pretty easy to figure out if you have an S or a John Cooper Works. Well, the guy showed me a Carfax, and I'm looking at the Carfax, and I was like, why doesn't it show a major on the Carfax? He's like, oh, and then I keep looking at it. He's like, I don't know. And I was like, the VIN's clearly different in this Carfax than what the car is. And the guy was actually really into Mini Coopers, so I didn't think he was gonna lie to me about this. He was like, don't worry, it's definitely a John Cooper Works. I just had a couple different Carfaxes because I'm looking at replacing it with another one already. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. And then he had another Carfax that he showed me, just an email, not the full Carfax. And it just showed like a stop sign. And I was like, okay, cool. The one with the stop sign probably means that it's a salvage title. At this point, it's clearly a salvage title, and it's gotta be the right car. So I figured he wasn't screwing me over then. And then I get back to the shop with the car, and I send the VIN to my buddy to have him run a Carfax, and it's an S! I got screwed, guys. It is literally just an S covered in John Cooper Works stuff. So let's go on a tour of this wrecked Mini Cooper that we bought. I'm gonna be honest, we bought this to part it out because it's a little too wrecked to ever go back on the road. I don't think there's a body panel on this car, other than the roof, that's not trash. So let's jump in here and check out the world's worst possible example of the best version of Mini Cooper there is, except it's none of those things, it's just an S. Before we jump in here, guess what I paid for this car? $1,200. That's what I paid for the car. Whatever you were typing in the comments, I doubt it was $1,200 because these engines seem to go for $3,000 to $4,000 on eBay, and we bought this car simply for its engine. So we're gonna tear this one apart. I'm excited to see what we make on this car, and let me know, what do you guys think this thing's worth once we pull the engine out and pull out a few other parts that are still good on this. It really seems like it has a bunch of JCW parts. I think it has John Cooper Works headlights. I don't think these were just normal S headlights. So people that know the John Coopers better than I do, let me know in the comments below. I don't know them. What I do know is, as far as I know, a real John Cooper Works might get these side skirts, definitely gets door sills, definitely gets a special shifter that says JCW, if I remember right. I think they get a special steering wheel that says JCW, and back here on the back, underneath the Cooper S, it should say like Cooper S JCW. And I think that's all the difference is. I don't know for sure. So I'm sure there are some real Mini enthusiasts in the comments. If you are one of those Mini enthusiasts, please let me know down below. Do you think this was a John Cooper Works? I think it's just an S. The VIN clearly tells me that it's just an S. Maybe somebody rebadged it and tried to kind of make it one. I don't really know. I do know from the owner, the old owner, he said this is the R52 or something like that. I don't remember the engines. Clearly it's the engine you want because it's the turbocharged one that makes way more power. But he said this is the engine that doesn't blow up. And I mean, it got hit hard and it still runs and drives. So I guess that might be true. All right, let's go on this tour. Don't JCWs get special mirror caps too? This has white mirror caps to match the roof. They're sitting right over there in a pile of all the parts that we pulled off of this thing. Well, these parts were in the interior and beside the car, but here's one of the lower valences, the wheel arches there, and there's the mirror caps in plain white. So the front of my fake John Cooper Works right here is looking really rough. That's the intercooler, I think. Yeah, I mean, it has to be the intercooler. And look at that, it's absolutely destroyed. The intercooler doesn't even exist anymore. Only one side of it's connected. The other side simply doesn't exist. It's funny that this thing still runs very well. I mean, it's not a gutless 4-cylinder without any boost. So the fog light that's missing is in the car or in this pile, something like that. And here are those headlights that I think are special, and it looked like somebody cared so much, I think they PPF'd them. That's either PPF or clear coat, but at first I thought they were cracked, and these are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. They're not cracked. They are clear coated or PPF. The PPF's kind of coming off. Anyway, it's got the S-hood. It's got the nice lower grille that makes them look super aggressive. We have the nice mini wheels as well. And the front two wheels are actually in great shape. Here's the passenger side. Let's jump over here and take a quick look at the driver's side. Again, not a lot of rash, in pretty good shape. And then you take a look at the back wheel. Look at that. It's angled. Here's the front wheel angle. Look at the back wheel angle. You can see it just absolutely laid over. So the collision this car was in was a sandwich. The owner told me that somebody sideswiped into him. They just rammed into him on the side of the road. They didn't see him at all and slammed the other side into a guardrail, and it destroyed this car. Destroyed it. I mean, there's so much damage here. Look at this. And the back wheel does kind of line up with somebody ran it into a guardrail. This entire back wheel, which is cocked out like this, because one of the control arms probably doesn't even exist back there. It's been fully machined. This is a machined face wheel. There is less material on there than you would believe. Look at that, they even machined the spokes down. So it got hit very, very hard. And then for some reason, they used masking tape to try to cover the windows. The windows work. I don't know what the thought process was. I tried to roll the window up and it moved just fine. So why didn't you just start the car and roll the windows up? I don't get it. Maybe the only real reason is the fact that neither door handle exists. Yeah, the door handles, they're not connected to anything. And the door handle on the other side, it's not even there. This taillight is completely shot. The lens is missing. The bumper, gone. Somehow the exhaust looks flawless. It still looks centered on the car. We got the Cooper S tag frame. I don't know how this happened. This looks like they hit it with a truck while they were trying to move it. I kind of think that's what happened. They were mad and they just crushed the back end of it, because that doesn't seem to be damaged from that. And then over here, you can see this door all caved in, like it got slammed into, and that wheel, of course, is toast. Let's take a look at that control arm. Ooh-wee, check out that. The lower control arm doesn't exist. That thing got destroyed. And then over here on this side, let's see if we can see anything interesting. Not really, but it must be that front mounting point that's all destroyed on this wheel. So there you go, that is a complete tour of my new 100% wreck, possibly the worst wreck I've ever seen on one of these things that we picked up for $1,200. But inside of this car, it's a little bit of a different story. Even though he left the windows down and just taped over everything, the door panels are dirty, but they appear to be in usable shape. The seats are a crazy rare color that is cream. I think this might be the only cream interior Mini I've ever seen, and there's not even one of these for sale on eBay, not a single cream interior. So hopefully these are worth thousands of dollars. Typically a set of seats is at least $1,000. It's got a 50-50 folding bench in the back. That's the water balloon inflator where you hook the hose up and it fills up like 50 water balloons at once, which is pretty funny. Here in the front we have a Manuel, which is probably what you want in your Cooper S. The Harman Kardon system, which is a big option. It has the color interior lighting, ambient lighting where you can change the color by just hitting the switch up top. Gauges, but no navigation. So the fancy ones have navigation in the center. It looks a lot better, but this one looks good. It does have auto climate and all the power stuff, heated seats. And somebody added this scan gauge here that's hooked up to the OBD2 port and tells you all the data about the car. So that's actually really cool, and it works just fine. Here's some of the fake John Cooper Works stuff. I think it's fake. I mean, I could be wrong, but one of the reasons I think it's fake is because, like, look how it's applied. The factory would never get that wrong. Those have to be centered up. Unless I'm wrong, but I really don't think it's a John Cooper Works. I think I got absolutely screwed. So that's the interior cream with dark wood. It's actually a good looking spec, and it works really well with this color that I think is Eclipse Gray Metallic. Let's get the hood open and figure out exactly what that color is, because as you guys know, BMW always throws the paint code right underneath. It is Eclipse Gray Metallic. There's that paint code right there. And of course it's on the charger, because when we showed up last night, the battery was at 3 volts. But now it's starting by itself after a night on the charger, so I think we might have saved that battery. I'm not sure. And here is everything that we wanted out of this car. What a cute little turbo. This thing makes 181 horsepower and 177 foot-pounds of torque. And those gobs of power get sent through the manual transmission to power this thing. It's front-wheel drive, and they absolutely just work. For some reason, they always have traction, and they're an absolute blast to go play with when you're doing autocross. And you know what? Most of my autocross time in one of these was in a base, and it was still a blast. The only thing was it was an automatic base, and that thing just hated staying in a gear. No matter what, you get right to where you needed to be, you coming up on a braking zone and you're in second gear, coming up on the limiter and it'd be like third gear. And then all of a sudden you'd be in the brakes trying to get it to go back into second, but it won't go back into second because it didn't think it needed to go back into second. But we still set good times with that car after we got used to kind of how it wanted to act, which was fighting us the whole time. With a manual, there's no fighting, it's just a good car. So we'll start this thing up in just a minute. It should come right to life as long as that battery's still connected. I had it disconnected last night so it would actually charge, and then I hooked it back up a minute ago and I didn't tighten the connection down. We're just gonna hope. But you can see that it's been sitting outside forever. It's absolutely covered in leaves and all kinds of trash. I think this thing was listed on Facebook Marketplace for 2 months or 2 or 3 months. So it's probably been sitting since the wreck, and at least it started back up to get on the trailer for us. Can't beat that. Another very BMW thing under the hood of this car, it does have heated washer fluid. So when you're in those cold weather conditions, it heats up the sprayer itself and makes sure that you're not just spraying more ice onto an iced over windshield. It kind of helps melt the ice for you. What's surprising though is it probably has the cold weather package, because obviously it's got heated seats and the heated washer nozzles on the hood, but it doesn't have a heated steering wheel. How does it not have a heated steering wheel? And how does it not say John Cooper Works on the steering wheel? That's what I don't get. Maybe the red stitching is actually a John Cooper Works thing, but I just don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is no JCW. Also, there's a bunch of clothes here in the back that I really need to throw away. So we're gonna clean this up here in just a minute. Let's put the key in here and start this thing up. We've got the classic Mini Cooper key here. Let's see. Yep, ambient lighting comes on immediately. It looks really good. You just hit this switch up here to change the color. You can see blue, blue's all the way, I guess. Pink, red, orange. Yeah, usually you get quite a few colors to choose from up there. It's really nice to have the tack front and center. Obviously, all the car enthusiasts always loved Minis because they are truly built to be a driver's car. We have Mini Boost CD and the Harman Kardon. All right, let's start this thing up. BMW sounds. Battery's dying. The battery's so dead, the headlights dimmed, and the engine tried to stop running on me, so I had to get it up to like 1500 RPM here. But it's running. It sounds great. It does. It's aftermarket downpipe, I know that. So probably catless, and it's got pops and a tune, I'm sure. So it's definitely owned by enthusiasts, but it runs and it moves under its own power, and it was $1,200 for an S. pretty much unheard of. Look at that, idling like a champ. Low tire pressure, airbag light, even though none of the bags blew. Not really sure what's going on with that. Check engine light, I'd like to see. Airbag light again, TPMS, seat belts aren't on. That's pretty much it. Let's try out the climate here. Blower came on. You can see the leaves and paper blowing around down there. So I'm sure that probably works. I felt the vents changing, so that works. Look at that. It shows you the codes right there. You just swipe up and it shows that it's an 0402, which is probably because it has no boost. Either way, it doesn't matter. I don't know how this machine works. I thought I swiped. Hey, 0420. Press down to suspend. Clear the codes. If you're gonna suspend the alarm, shut the check engine light off. Crazy that you can get an engine worth $4,000. I hope it sells for $4,000 for 1,200 bucks. It's gonna take a little bit of work to get this thing apart, but it should be a fun project. I am looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys wanna see what it takes to rip one of these things apart, because this is definitely not a car that can be saved. It's been hit about as hard as you could ever hit a car. Crazy when I think all four corners. I mean, somehow they got the intercooler knocked out of it. It must have gone off-roading because all the trim in the front is destroyed. One of the fog lights came out, and then both sides got hit. Pretty wild. We did find a bunch of stuff in this. We threw a lot of it away already, but we found one of my favorite screwdrivers, the little Crystal Craftsman small drivers. I had a set of these when I was a kid. I still do. I mean, they're around, but they're definitely some of my favorite ones to work with. We found some Torx bits. We found this super sharp mossy oak knife. So that's joining the collection. We found some long division, and we found a Gideon New Testament. They're not green anymore. I think that's completely made out of paper. And a garage door opener. That's pretty much the only things in this car that were valuable. So next up, making it more valuable by taking it apart. Did you guys notice the biggest downside of this car? The hatch struts and the hood struts all work perfectly. That was the one thing I was looking forward to. I did just get the hatch open on this thing, and here we can see that big ol' Harman Kardon amp that makes this car absolutely rock. Somewhere in here, there's a subwoofer. I don't know where, but it absolutely pounds. I did fire up the system, and I did quickly vacuum out the back. So it's looking pretty good already. We just need to clean it up real quick and start tearing stuff out of it. I'm actually glad a lot of this can just go in the trash, like all that plastic there, a lot of the bumpers, straight to the trash. That all might be going to the trash, but guess what I found? The factory toolkit. That's gonna be a little bit rare, right? The jack's in there, screwdriver's in there, and there's some more stuff that fell out underneath this. So you'd think that's where the subwoofer would be, but it's not there. So maybe it's in the back? I don't know. All I know is it sure sounds like it has a subwoofer. I can see the speakers in there, but that's it. Well, there you have it. The first time I think I've gotten absolutely screwed on a car by it not being the trim that they said it was. That John Cooper Works thing would have added a lot of value to this car. We'll start tearing it apart in the next one. We should be able to just drop the subframe, pull the door panels and the seats and a few other things out of this, and she's back out of the shop as fast as she came in. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop.watchjergo.com for cool shirts just like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. Somehow this is still a cool car, and if it just had an intercooler and we bent that control arm back over there, we could probably go drive this thing on the street and it would be okay. It's got a lot of rear steer though. It actually does drive that way, and getting it on and off the trailer, we had to move the ramps in between wheels. So good times.